Welcome to this episode of Ask the Guitar Coach, the only podcast where you get answers to all your guitar-related questions. If you're interested in developing your guitar skills and reaching your music goals, please send me an email at the email address ioannis@ioannis.org. That is IOANNIS at IOANNIS.org, so that I can let you know about all the different packages of elite guitar coaching and how you can get private coaching by me. Without further ado, let's go to our question for the day. The top 5 mistakes guitarists make when recording at a studio. So today we're going to talk about the top 5 mistakes that guitar players make when recording at a studio, specifically when they're recording their own CD. And this is a list I came up, just putting together data after having heard and seen the same mistakes over and over and over and over, like probably not hundreds of times, but many times. So let's get started with mistake number 1. And the first mistake, the most important mistake, is not having practiced their parts before going to the studio. This is a very usual mistake, and it's some kind of like misguided effort to be creative within quotes. It's as if they say, well, if I've practiced, then I'm not going to be creative, which is exactly the opposite in reality, because the more you've practiced, the more you don't have to think about what you're playing, and then you can be creative and on the spot much better. But this is a very usual mistake. It happens very often, and one thing I definitely suggest is before going to the studio to play and record your CD, definitely practice your guitar parts. And let's move on to mistake number 2. Mistake number 2, you will not believe, honestly, you will not believe how many times I've seen this, I heard this happened, and how many guitar people that record guitar players have complained about that. And this is just basically changing your guitar strings, taking care of your equipment, making sure the guitar is well set up and it's in tune and everything before you start recording. This is all very basic stuff, just having new guitar strings and make sure your guitar is set up and in tune. And this is one of those things that can totally destroy a complete recording, because if you have one string that's out of tune, then you have to basically redo everything that includes that string in the vast majority of cases. So the easiest way to make sure that things go just a little bit better for you in the studio is to make sure that a couple of days before you go to do your recording, make sure you have your guitar set up, change the strings, and make sure you stretch them out and they can stay in tune. And also, tune them again between every take. Just have a little tuner, and just before every take, make sure you tune your guitar. Mistake number 3. Mistake number 3 is playing to impress other guitar players. You will not believe how many times, one of my students will be playing something, and it will be an impressive thing, but it will not fit the song. And I will ask them, why did you play that? And he will go, well, I have to play something impressive. And the answer is you don't. No, you don't have to play something impressive at every moment. The same way you don't have to use a fancy word with every sentence when you're speaking. Every now and then, a fancy word, a fancy long word, or in case of guitar, a hot lick, a fast and impressive lick will be in your guitar playing. But it's not a point that you have to do it all the time, because the more you do it on purpose, the less organic it's going to be. Meaning, it's as if you're playing a solo to show off your guitar skills instead of to embellish the song. And when you're playing an improvisation, you're trying to embellish the song. You're not trying to show off your guitar skills. So, showing off and trying to impress other guitar players, is the third reason and the third mistake that guitar players make when they go to record at a studio. Having said that, let's move to mistake number 4. So, mistake number 4 is a very frustrating mistake for me is people who are always concentrating much more on the name and the brand of the studio or the equipment included in the studio instead of the knowledge and the skill set of the person who's recording them and the producer that they may have in the studio. So the recording engineer and the producer. Here's the deal. You can have the best recording equipment and the best sound designs, the best sound proofing and everything. If the person who is operating those things is not really a good, highly skilled professional, you're not going to get a good result. The same way that if you would give an amazing car to someone who doesn't know how to drive, it doesn't mean that you're going to get a good driving experience, okay? It's much more important to have a person who understands what you want to achieve, who knows how to get the sounds you want to get in the recording, and then after that, the equipment will become more important. But if you don't have that, equipment and the name of the brand doesn't mean anything. So paying more attention to the name of the studio and to the equipment included in the studio is mistake number 4 that guitar players make when they go to record their CD, which very nicely leads us into mistake number 5, which also has to do with the studio. If you're enjoying this show and you want to be notified whenever a new video comes out, make sure you press subscribe right here, okay? And also press the notification bell so that you can get a notification every time we release a new video. And now, let's go back to our regular episode. So mistake number 5, it's one of the most frustrating ones, and I hear it all the time, and even though I always preemptively tell my students about it, it seems at least 50% of them will believe that and will fall into this trap. And it's a trap of their own making. The studio is not doing anything about them. So here it goes. Mistake number 5. They think that the studio is going to help them push and promote and market their CD because they recorded it there. And it's really amazing that people will think of that. I will give you an example. 10 years ago, I think, I don't remember exactly the details, but if I remember correctly, a band from one of my students, my more advanced students, very good player, very good band, they went to record at a studio that I think it was Metallica who recorded there. And their understanding was that the studio was going to promote their music afterward. Now, the studio never mentioned anything about that. It didn't say anything. But this was just an assumption of the band, okay? Why is this assumption? Well, part of it is ego. There's no way around it. Let's examine what I mean by that. So if you're highly invested in your music, you think that because you like it and you enjoy it and you believe it's amazing, you think that everybody else is also going to have the same understanding that you have of your music. So it makes perfect sense to say in your mind, okay, that, the studio people will listen to my music, they will say it's amazing and they will do their best to promote me and my music. This is not the case. This happens extremely rarely, and it's usually by accident, even during the cases that it happens. The job of the studio is to make you sound your best, is not to take your CD and use their connections to the music industry to make you a hit band or anything like that. This studio, whichever studio, became well known because a hit band, a really big band, like a band like Metallica, recorded at that studio. So they already have a great name from themselves, which name was created by, let's say, Metallica. They are not going to get somebody who is a nobody right now, which means your band, and try to promote them, to promote these nobodies with the name of their studio. It's the other way around. So this is a really big mistake, something that happens a lot, and I've heard it on several cases, and in several cases the difference between a very good studio and a high-end studio can be tens of thousands of dollars, and all those dollars are given to the top-end studio because of the name of the band that recorded there, and they're given because the band that is recording now believes that the studio will promote them. The studio will not promote them. So there you have it, the top 5 mistakes that guitar players make when they go to record a CD in a studio. I hope this video was helpful and it will aid you in avoiding those mistakes, and I will see you on the next episode of Ask the Guitar Coach. Until then, keep sending me your questions and I'll do my best to answer them in a future episode. Bye bye.